I'm standing on the oldest mountain range in North America. These mountains are 500 million years old. And a long time ago, they were a coastal range. The Atlantic Ocean lapped up against the base of these mountains. Back then, some of the peaks were 20,000 feet tall, which rivals Everest. But now they're 150 miles inland, and the tallest peak left is only about 1,100 feet. This is the Uwharrie National Forest, just outside of Asheboro, North Carolina. It's an interesting place with a very long history. Native Americans used this place for at least 10,000 years. It was a fertile hunting ground. It's full of the type of rock that they used to make arrowheads, spear points, axes, and other stone tools. There are two really important cultural sites very near here. Town Creek Mound, which was a ceremonial center for the Mississippian culture, is nearby, and Morrow Mountain State Park, which is actually the site of a huge stone workshop. There are piles and piles of stone chips that are the remnants of making arrowheads. Once it was settled by the Europeans, this place was clear-cut until there was almost nothing left. In the 1930s, the government bought what was left to protect it. And in the 1960s, John F. Kennedy made this a national forest. This is the smallest national forest in North Carolina. It's only 80 square miles. It's in an interesting place. It's kind of the center of the state. You're a couple hours from Charlotte, a couple hours from Raleigh, 4 hours from the beach, and 4 hours from the mountains. So it really is kind of the center of the state. This is also kind of the center of cryptozoology in North Carolina. You're only a couple hours from Bladenboro with the famous stories of the beast of Bladenboro. Only a couple hours from Statesville with Santer Cat. The Lizard Man sightings in Scape Ore Swamp is in South Carolina, but it's still only a couple hours away. And most importantly for today, Bigfoot. Bigfoot sightings abound in this part of the state. Native Americans had legends about Sasquatch long before Europeans arrived. There are a lot of recent reports as well. Footprints, suspicious hair samples, vocalizations, loud thumping, and quite a few images that have been caught on infrared and game cameras. Probably the most well-known was in 2008, a man named Michael Green, who has a really impressive resume. He was a lead fraud investigator for the IRS, was camping in the Uwharrie Mountains when he heard something outside of his tent in the darkness. He says it rubbed against his tent, breathing loudly. He jumped up to scare it off, and he howled. He says the vocalization was unlike anything he had ever heard. So he came back multiple times to find the source. Eventually in 2008, he said he heard noises in the forest, and so he left out his game camera and some bait. If you've watched my previous Bigfoot video, you'll know that Bigfoot apparently has a sweet tooth. So he left out a candy bar and also a squeaky toy that belonged to one of his grandkids. and he caught something large and bipedal moving through the night, taking the candy bar and the squeaky toy. There were two other cases in 2012. A man and his wife returning home around 1 a.m. turned a dark corner in their car and saw a large 7.5 foot tall bipedal creature covered in dark brown or black fur quickly moved into the tree line. They heard vocalizations for a couple of days afterwards. Later in 2012, a local resident reported that he was up late playing video games and got up only to see a large 8 foot tall creature hunched down in his yard trying to look in the window. And he yelled, the creature got up and moved away, but for the next 4 to 5 minutes he heard a deep rumbling growl that he could not identify. There are reports that another Bigfoot was captured on a trail cam in the nearby town of Pisgah. Now, the people here have embraced Bigfoot. There is a cryptozoology museum nearby. There is an outfitter here that sells a ridiculous amount of Bigfoot memorabilia, stickers and t-shirts. There are a lot of Bigfoot investigators who come here. There are other paranormal things here as well. There are multiple UFO reports, including a couple of videos of strange round lights moving at seemingly impossible speeds that were filmed over the Uwharrie mountains. There was a written report. A couple of witnesses saw what they described as 25 to 30 orange circles of light in the sky moving in formation and moving at unbelievable speeds and making impossible turns in the sky. UFO reports here go back to the 50s. There's also another little interesting tidbit of North Carolina history here, which is that gold was discovered here in the 19th century. Most people don't think of North Carolina when they think about gold, but the first American gold rush was in North Carolina at the Reed Mine, which is down near Charlotte. 200 years later, gold was discovered here in the early 19th century. There are still mine shafts that have been abandoned, and there are always legends around gold mines. There were dangerous places to work, and there was a lot of emotion around those places. I'm not specifically looking for a gold mine today, so it's just an interesting thing to throw in there. So we can talk about the trail for a second. This is actually a spur trail called Walker Creek that leads to the Uwharrie Trail. The Uwharrie Trail is pretty long, and I have no plans to do the whole thing today. My goal is actually to make it to Walker Creek. The trail crosses the creek, and when I get there, I'm actually going to split off trail, follow the creek for a while, because I think that's my best bet to find any sort of footprints. It rained last night, actually pretty heavy, and I was kind of hoping for that because it should make prints easier to find since the ground is wet. So we'll see. The trail itself is gorgeous. It seems pretty well marked. It's the middle of October, so some of the leaves are starting to change, but there's actually still a good canopy overhead, which is making it nice and shady. There's something remarkable to me when you can sit on a rock and know that it's 500 million years old. I love the paranormal. I love Bigfoot stories and ghosts and things, but really what brings me out here is the actual natural history and the human history. I think it's fascinating that this place has been inhabited by humans for 10,000 years or more. So I'm not sure what I saw. It very well could have been just some weird optical illusion. It looked like a person in maybe a dark gray. But I'm up here. I don't see anything. I don't know how anybody would have gotten away. It's very noisy to walk around up here with the leaves and the acorns and the sticks. So probably was nothing. I'll watch the video when I get home and see if I can see anything. So I've climbed this little hill. I think I'm gonna actually make my way back down to this old road and see if it goes to the creek. That's my preferred destination. Got very noisy here for a few minutes, branches breaking and acorns and things, but it's one of the downsides of doing this stuff in the fall is everything is very noisy. As far as I can tell, I'm still on a trail. And I think I said at the beginning, this was a pretty well-marked trail. It has ceased to be so. So I may not be on the trail anymore. I feel pretty confident that I know where I am. Appears to be an old roadbed. But it makes for some hard hiking because there are a ton of trees down. I'm going to backtrack some and see if I can find the creek before I head out. This old roadbed just kind of ends on a hillside, so I'm not really sure. It looks like the creek should be slightly east of me. I haven't seen any sign of it and I don't hear it, so it may be pretty small. We're gonna So I intersected with a different trail. This one is blazed with white diamonds. And this one seems to take me to the creek. But the creek is maybe less impressive than I thought. It's very pretty and primeval looking. Lots of ferns and things, but it's pretty small. I don't see any sort of prints on the creek, but I do see it looks like something has been digging in the bottom, which definitely could be a raccoon. Definitely evidence of animals here. There's game trails through the underbrush. There's spots in the creek where you can tell things have been going down to get water and dig, maybe looking for snails or mollusks, crayfish, that sort of thing. No Bigfoot. Definitely some rabbit fur on the trail here. I'm sure he's fine. He just got hot, you know. Take off a layer. If you're coming this way, I'll say that anywhere in the Uwharries are pretty special. It's just such an interesting range. I wouldn't necessarily plan on finding Bigfoot. What I would suggest is you bring 2 candy bars, leave one for Bigfoot, and eat one on the way out.